We're kicking off the first part of our double episode Super Sunday right here on the Falls Count Everywhere podcast. Tonight's episode is brought to you by the following: American Championship Wrestling. Don't miss the first show of 2023 as American Championship Wrestling returns to St. Clair, Missouri this Saturday, February 25th at the Holy Trinity Lutheran Church. Doors open at 5, bell time at 6 p.m. All tickets are just $6. Get your tickets at the door or visit acwtheshow.ticketleap.com to get them in advance. American Championship Wrestling, where the fans come first. Before each and every show, we like to remind our audience that freedom is never free, and all of us should be grateful to those who lay it all on the line. To all our first responders, military, and volunteers that help our nation every day, we love you and appreciate the sacrifices you make to protect all of us. We're coming at you live with episode 90 of the Falls Count Everywhere podcast as we welcome the only Triple Crown winner of the UFC's No Holds Barred era and multiple-time amateur and professional wrestling champion, Dan the Beast Severn. This podcast is scheduled for one episode where falls count everywhere. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is the kickoff of a long evening for us. Oh, yeah, we are in the house once again. This is a double episode Super Sunday here with us here at the Falls Count Everywhere podcast. And right now we're at episode 90 here with very shortly here in about a few minutes, we're going to be bringing on one of the toughest men ever to grace in any squared circle, octagon, whatever. But, we've got him on standby here in just a short moment here. Dan the Beast Severn will be joining us here live with us. I am Rough Cut Rick Ruby here on the left. To the right, of course, is Gem City Mouse Zmiz. Man, you've had an exhausting weekend. I've had an exhausting day, but however, we're going to get on that into our second episode later on tonight. But how are you feeling overall, man?
I mean, besides Sid making me lug a stupid heavy bed up the stairs, I'm doing pretty good today.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. I wish this has basically been my my remedy here right here. I caught a bug and it wasn't a good one, and I've been kind of dealing with that today. And but hey, I'm here. I'm ready to go. I'm excited. So for those who are wanting to make sure, and I don't know if there's anybody here in the chat, but yeah, that Dean's here. Thanks for joining us here, Dean, and Larry's in here. But yeah, okay, yeah. So met Shinelin's parents last night at IEW, which was a great show. Like I said, we'll get into that in our second show here because we got a lot going on.
Yep.
Once again, if we see Facebook users, scroll up to the chat, top of the chat, where our link is chat.restream.io. Oh, I did the wrong one again. I'm gonna have to remove that. Oh my God.
And see, I'm trying to help you out.
I know it's /FB, not .FB, and I keep messing that up. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Okay, but anyway,
Aaron Wallace has joined with us. At least one of the Facebook. Well, Aaron, go to the restream thing, sir.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and put it in again here real quick, and I will get it on correctly. I make sure I will. See, there you go.
Here.
There you go. That's the one right here. Chat.restream.io/FB. We want to make sure we all know who's watching here and participating here tonight. So, with that in mind, I've got our questionnaires here pulled up, and we are ready to go. So, And I'm psyched. Are you psyched? I know I'm psyched.
I'm
I'm
pumped for
almost
the
a little
night.
nervous because I almost didn't think I was going to make it here today. And then I had to rush through a lot of things, and now I'm here. So I'm just going to shut up and let it go. Oh. So, ladies and gentlemen, so our individual here tonight has captured so many championships between the world, amateur wrestling, professional wrestling, the only Triple Crown winner in UFC's no holds barred era, um, and just a guy who continues to teach, spread the word, spread the knowledge, and just a good person all around. And ladies and gentlemen, without no further ado, let's bring on our first guest of the night. He is none other than Dan the Beast Severn. Dan, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing great there, gentlemen.
And once again, thanks for joining us here. And I know you're an hour. Well, technically, you're an hour behind. You're kind of far away, but
Yes.
you're tonight. You're nice viewing land of Arizona, and I think the weather's about the same here in the Midwest as it is out there. So.
Yeah, it was a beautiful, I'll say, sunny day. I think it broke up into the low 70s. Sunshine was out there to where I was wearing shorts and t-shirts while I was out doing yard work.
Nice.
Right. Yeah, because you guys' time has never changed. Like I said, I've sent you and communicated earlier in the week that took the family out to Sedona last June, and a week was not enough. I'll tell you that. It was just
Sedona is a very magical, mystical area. A lot of beautiful things to see, but it also, it claims it has like a different aura about it, and that there's a lot of healing properties in the Sedona area. So again, I think some of it might be a little bit tongue in cheek, but it's just to me, it's just a beautiful place to go. You cannot help but feeling a little bit better just by seeing all the magnificent beauty of Mother Nature.
I know.
That's
I
a
didn't.
fact.
Yep, I didn't want to come back to St. Louis. That's very sure. Coming with the rowdy traffic in the morning, and no, that's okay.
Yeah, but I mean, every state has something beautiful about them. Every state has something bad about them. Maybe I see the St. Louis Arch almost every time that I zip back and forth down the freeway. So it's good. Every time I see this, I go, okay, I know I'm about 7 hours outside of Coldwater. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say because that's where a lot of your first property is up in Coldwater here. But I was kind of hoping that someday Michigan will have a city called Clean Water, but because I always tease about the water up there.
Well, yeah. Again, when you talk about water, and then you see all the things that are currently in the current news about things that are blowing up, catch on fire, train derailments, and then people throw rocks in the water, seeing multicolors come to the surface, and our government simply saying, "Hey, it's okay to drink, no problemo." Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I hope I'm saying that. I hope I'm saying that facetiously enough.
Sounded good for me.
Yeah, you put in a chlorine testing strip, you're going to come back with a lot more than you bargained for. I'll tell you that.
I think that's where the people will be glowing. They won't. They maybe this is the left's whole regime about going green. Not only will we save on electricity, all the people will be glowing. Glow sticks. Yeah.
Yeah, let's everybody be radioactive. Why don't we?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We probably should talk about that out loud, because they'd be like, going, "Gosh, why didn't we think of that?"
Oh my gosh. So many conspiracies and what things are going on around here, man. That is I'll tell you, man, I'm on the bandwagon with you there. Trust me. And another, our mutual friend of ours, the Searcher, that apparently the Searcher does have victories over this man. Unfortunately, it's on the ping pong table, but that's no.
Wait. That's all hearsay. That's all hearsay. Okay. I don't know who you're talking to about that ping pong. I take my ping pong games pretty seriously right there.
Well, some of us have known to fabricate every now and then, but oh shoot. So man, like I say, well, I appreciate you being here. And we've got quite a bit lined up for you, for our audience. Like I say, keep participating in the chat, everybody. We'll pull us some, if you
Yeah,
have any
what
good
I like
comments,
about,
questions.
excuse me for interrupting you, Rudy, for a
Sure.
moment there, but I do like the fact that you can actually see the fans that are queuing in right now, the fans / listeners that are just listening to the program. I'm starting to see all the various questions and stuff like that, and people that are coming on board. So that's very, very well done.
Oh yeah. And like I said, we've got a lot of we got a lot of people that usually listen in. If not live, they usually listen in later. But live is where you need to catch us, so you catch all the fun. But yeah, if you've got a comment or anything, or maybe possibly if there's something you're wondering here about Dan, maybe a possible question. If we get to it, we'll throw it up there for you. And so interact for the chat. That's definitely what we want to do. But of course, we got an anonymous user that's a huge fan of yours. But
That's Aaron Wallace, if I'm not
it's Aaron
mistaken.
Wallace. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he told me about that. He did.
Well,
Oh,
again, I've got different. Well, just as you guys said it in the introduction there itself, just for sheer fact that I've been around for as long as I have, continuing to do something, with my amateur wrestling career being my very first aspect that really ignited for myself. But and I've been doing that since seventh grade, 1969. So the fact that I can say I've been doing something in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010s, 2020 plus.
right.
I already have people right now going, there's no way possible it is Dan Severn anymore. It's got to be the son of Dan Severn Jr. right now. But then, you guys showed the first, at the very beginning, you showed the picture of that dark-haired, mustachio type of man. And I go, well, I still have hair to color. That's just it. I still have hair to color. And I could do that if I wish to, but all during my cage fighting career, all during my professional wrestling career, literally, I'll say early to my mid 30s, I was already coloring my hair because of prematurely going gray. First, I had a beard, and guys were busting my chops by saying, hey, Dan, you got to stop eating those powdered white donuts. I go, what? Powdered white donuts? It's like, it's dropping down on your chin now. I'm like, oh, good one. Yeah, okay. So it was like dyeing this, then dyeing that. Like, I just do the whole shebang all at once. So I say that in all the pictures that you see, there's not a current picture out there, probably, and nothing in the last 35 years where it's all been just for men, number 45. and that's not a plug for, just for men is not sponsor me either now.
But
go
be
ahead.
blessed. Be blessed. You have to work with color because I had to work, worry about the other male pattern issue, and that's why I do this. So, nobody wants to see the back of shape of a hot air balloon on the back of my head. So, that's why I shave it.
Well, again, on the same note, but Rudy, I no longer have a 4-head. I have more like a 5-head, 6-head because it slowly is creeping back here. It's kind of like going, instead of combing it back, I think I might start combing it forward. Yeah, get that nice little right now. So when I'm out in the wind, you start to see flapping up. Yeah. So.
Oh man. Now you were starting to touching on your amateur career. Like you say, growing up in Coldwater. You were.
Yeah. Okay. Again, I'll stop you at a few things because most people think I'm born and raised Coldwater. It's only because people want to know, well, where do you live? I live in Coldwater, Michigan. Yes. All the people from Montrose, Michigan, they get mad all the time. They're like, doggone it, you're from Montrose, Michigan. Let them know. And I go, they simply just ask, where do you live? I don't live in Montrose. I have a home down in Coldwater, Michigan. So I have to throw that little shout out to the Montrose people that are that will probably catch this at some point in time if they're not on there right now. That, yes, I'm a fellow Montrose Wrestling Ram. Okay, that's the mascot. The Montrose Rams. And that's why I started my junior high career to my high school career, and then literally led me to going to college and then jumping into all the wacky things that I've done. But even before all of that, it's the sheer fact of growing up on a farm, growing up on a 120-acre farm to where You had basically 80 tillable acres, meaning that's where you planted your crops on those 80 acres of corn, bean, rice, wheat, whatever. And we'd harvest that. And the other land was basically forestry and streams, to where I grew up really in the kind of like a huckleberry fin type of childhood. I mean, I to be out the rope swings and tree houses and fishing out of the lake and actually eating what you caught. Not even knowing that you needed a license to hunt on your property until junior high, and then all of a sudden these flyers are going around that sign up for the upcoming gun class. And this was the time period when you could actually still bring a gun to school for this class. Kids can't be bringing guns to school with the other fellows.
Oh, that is crazy.
So again,
Wow.
just a different time there altogether. But what a wonderful place to start my grassroots. But that's where, if people see me now, they see me working out of my planner. They see how organized that I am, and because of my square jaw features and the mustache, a lot of people think that I'm former military, former law enforcement, because I got that Dudley right chin and I got the mustache going with me there too. So, but I do work with all those industries. But I'll just say that, growing up on that farm first, to know you had to get up in the morning and you had to take care of your chores first. You had to feed other animals first before you got fed, and you got to do it all within a certain time frame, because then you got to walk that half mile up to the end of the road to catch the local school bus. But then later on, when it was cool to drive to school, but it wasn't so cool to drive the family truck that it had air conditioning way before air conditioning was even invented. But it's because of the holes in the floorboard that the air was coming up through. And you had to come and you had to enter into the passenger side, because if you open up the driver's side, the door would probably fall off. So again, luxurious way that I grew up. But, it keeps you very humble. It keeps you appreciating things, where there's a lot of people in today's world would not survive at all, because they're so used to, especially these last couple of years, with the COVID caper all taking place, people are staying home and let the government take care of you. Wow. Yeah. Let's see how that's working out.
Spicy.
Yeah. I don't want it. That's for darn sure. I'm out there busting hump every day, so it don't matter to me. So I don't rely on it, and continue to work on it.
Yeah, okay.
Getting
Rudy,
back though,
you don't rely upon it, but the parasites are sucking taxes off of you.
all right.
So again, Rudy, I'm not exactly what I say. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm very much an acquired taste. But
Right.
can I make a difference in a positive way? I sure can. People may not like my methods, but then again, I'll get results done.
Right. There you go. Absolutely. But going back to where you were talking about, getting into your sports and growing up, and I think you were playing basketball at one point in high school,
At the
right?
very beginning, you gotta look at what's always on television. Usually the big sports. When I say by big sports that actually have a pro level to go on to. So watching basketball, pro level basketball, watching the NFL, football, watching baseball and NBA. Those are the things that you'd see a great deal of. So it's kind of like going, well, it's I first started off through the physical education program, just trying different sports through the physical education program. Now, I'll stop it for a moment there, because when you look at physical education from the era that I came from, and you see now what they try to pawn off as physical education in our school systems, whether it be on the high school level or the junior high level, there's probably no chance of a kid even breaking a sweat in that class. And when you have probably 20 to 25% of the class does not even dress out or participate in physical education, and you wonder why. Yeah, America's number one in a lot of different ways, but then it's number one in child obesity because kids don't know how to work. Give them this puppy, this cell phone. They got the fastest two thumbs in the world. But try to ask them to do anything else agility wise, nah, not gonna happen.
Yeah, building up those thumb wrestling muscles is pretty good. So
Oh, see, again, I see a couple of people are jumping on right now. Like, oh, Tim John just jumped in. He says, I know I didn't break a sweat in PE in the 80s and 90s.
That says a lot about Tim.
That's something I'm not.
Well, again, I don't know Tim there, but it just happened to pop up right there.
I know. My time in the gym, I don't like to run anymore. So if I'm running, there's a reason to be running. I can do it, but there's a reason if I'm running.
Okay, all right. Can I ask you just a quick question? Do either one of you gentlemen, do you have an ongoing training regimen that you do? Again, I'm not trying to put no one on the spot. I'm just asking a mere question.
I mean, my kids and I and my wife, we like to go hiking and we love bike riding and stuff, but we don't really on a regular workout or anything. Maybe more me. I do. So this guy right back here, DDP, if you can't see, is my wrestling buddy.
Diamond Dallas Page, yeah.
So Diamond Dallas Page is one of my heroes, and I do DDP yoga. That's pretty much my biggest in biking and hiking.
Okay.
Yeah. I only do like basic things to like walk around, and I get into the gym every once in a while throughout the week, and but nothing regularly like 2 or 3 times or anything like that. I need it though. But of course, I'm also recovering from my knees tend to pop out every now and then, so and that stinks. So so I'm trying to prevent any type of needed surgeries right now.
Right.
So
Can't blame me on that whatsoever.
Yeah. So who said this? So I'll be running to the refrigerator. Y'all are messed up.
No, again, you guys. Again, I don't know how long you guys been doing your podcast, but it's kind of great to see all these little comments jumping up here left and right.
Oh yeah, well, we've actually started in the COVID era. Of course, I've had experience in podcasting, broadcasting way before then. And here's Tim's regimen: right, waking up, eating pizza rolls, napping, then bed. Okay, well there you go. And
I wonder if he does that in supersets, or does he just kind of
Wow.
Oh
my gosh, that is so.
I would like to challenge again on 2 different fronts. I would challenge Tim to do one of my workouts with me, and then I'll go to his workout gym, and I will bury him in pizza consumption alone.
I don't even like pizza.
First part I would pay to see from one, and
again, not knowing Tim, and but I do like his little. Oh, he taps already. Wow, come on, already. Tim, come on now. You gotta be more of a gamer than that.
Yeah. So, in regards to your wrestling, you weren't as far as kind of explain how you got actually into wrestling, because like I say, you were doing other sports in high school at the time.
Yes.
And you were approached with that.
Well, yeah, I being involved in physical education class, all the physical type of stuff I was doing on the farm alone, that was, I have 7 other brothers and sisters. I'm second on the totem pole, so I'm at the top sport. So basically, there's 5 males and 3 females. And when you look at all 5 males, and you throw my pops in there at the time, all 6 males are 6 foot or better, 200 pounds or better. Oh, it was a good thing that we actually grew up on a farm, because you learn real quick not to name any of the animals, because sooner or later they're going to end up on your dinner table, So all the chickens, pigs, ducks, geese, cattle that we had. I mean, it was including Peggy the milk cow that I milked for probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. And, talk about having fresh milk, talk about actually making real butter and things of that nature. So it's kind of like going, it's probably still wonder why the beast is still, good to go for another 60 some odd years.
There you go. So, so you were approached were you approached by by one of your coaches,
basketball,
right?
I'm sorry. Answer your question. I was there was a big flu epidemic that happened somewhere in the during the school year there, and it was during the basketball season, during the wrestling season, and a couple of my friends on the wrestling team, they simply there's a lot of people that are out sick, and they were going to have to forfeit all these weight classes. They're like, Dan, can you help us out? Can you come out and fill in a weight class for us that night? And I'm thinking, big, strapping, strong, farm kids, stuff like that. So I'll go out there and show that this person a thing or two. Well, I lost both my matches that night, so I did not help out my buddies. I kind of let them down, but at least I was doing something. What I don't like about, I'll say, team sports. Again, some people may like this, some people may like this. Frankly, I don't care. I'm just going to speak quite bluntly here. That's the only way I know how to be about things. A lot of things about team sports, there's a lot of favoritism that seems like it gets played, especially if you are the coach's son and your coach wants you to play so badly, even though you might suck at it. What I like about a sport like amateur wrestling is that I could be the coach's son. You do a challenge match with me. You throw me down, you pin me, you get in. I have to go ride the pine. Whereas in, again, team sports like football, basketball, baseball, it's not always exactly based upon your skill sets, at least younger in life. Later in life, yes. When you got people that are looking to hire you to actually do a job and their salary in the whole 9 yards, now the cream really rises to the top. But in pee-wee type sports, there's a lot of men and women that play God with children, and I despise that. I still see it now when I go to certain kids, amateur wrestling meets, stuff like this. I'll see this father on the mat side losing his mind, screaming and yelling at little Billy out there, little Billy who's probably 5 years of age, and dad screaming, and practically you can see the veins hanging out of the side of his neck right there, ready to have a coronary a stroke. And I want to go grab Pops by the scruff of the neck and go, hey, Pops, what do you want your 5-year-old to accomplish that you never accomplished in your own life? He's a kid. Let him allow to be a kid here. So but I see that a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
But wrestling, going back, wrestling was my tool when I started having a little bit of success. Well, again, my freshman year in high school, for 2 years, 7th, 8th grade, I just, ham and egg. I was on the team and won a few matches, probably lost more matches than I won. But my freshman year in high school, the high school wrestling coach was also a government teacher, history/government teacher. And one day when I was going up to turn in a paper, on his desk, he happened to have a stack of these amateur wrestling magazines. I had never seen this magazine before, but I'm like, Coach, I said, do you care if I look through a couple of these? He says, no problem, just bring it back up my desk. So I'm reading these magazines, and that's actually what opened up my mind here for me, because as I'm reading these different magazines, it's talking about weight training programs for wrestling. It was talking about the psychology aspect of the sport of wrestling, how to set your goals, how to strength programs, nutrition. I mean, it just opened up my mind. Up to that point in time, I was just like every other wrestler. I simply did whatever the coach told me to do. But once I started reading these magazines, I mean, I devoured them, and eventually I ended up getting my own. I subscribed to my own subscription so that I had it coming directly to my house. So I mean, it was a big influence for me. And my very first record, I should say, the very first goal I set for myself is I wanted to be the first freshman to ever make the varsity team at Montrose Hill McCoy High School. And like most wrestlers, you always try to lose some weight so that you're like this big, strong monster at this lighter weight class. Well, I weighed roughly about 165 pounds my freshman year. I went down to 155-pound weight class. But when you're a freshman and you're only right around that, 12, 13, 14-year-old, you're rated at 12, 13 to 14 years of age, you're giving up that 1, 2, or 3 years to that sophomore, junior, or senior of physical, mental maturity, but then just sheer additional wrestling experience they have. I'm put at a real deficit at that point in time. So basically, I got crushed. I would challenge at one weight class, get crushed. I went to the next weight class, get crushed. With the next weight class, get crushed. I went all the way through until the last weight class to challenge was the heavyweight. My high school wrestling coach probably should have never allowed the match to take place because I weigh 155 pounds and I'm challenging the heavyweight. And he's seen this, I don't know if we saw this boneheaded determination I had or not at that point in time, but he allows the match to take place. And through the course of the match, as we're grappling around on our feet, he basically somehow tripped and fell down. I fell down on top of him, pinned him, and I ended up winning the challenge match. So I made varsity as a freshman, but it opened up a whole lot of new obstacles to me. For the very first one is I did not weigh the bare bones minimum of 175 pounds. Weight classes at that time were different, especially when it came to the heavyweight weight class. Heavyweight at that time, you had to weigh a minimum of 175 pounds in order to wrestle heavyweight. But the rules were also different then, where you could weigh in fully dressed at that time. Shoes on, coat on, and had cans of pop in every pocket on me. So I weighed over 175 pounds. Today's weigh-ins, you weigh in basically right down to your skivvies, your underwear, because they want to see all your skin and stuff like that, just to see, do you have any kind of ringworm, impetigo, things of that nature, because skin diseases are much more apparent to be looking for as well. So, again, that's, as I always tell people, I didn't start off like a ball of fire, because even in my very first match, I got destroyed in probably, 10, 12 seconds at that. So I didn't set the world on fire, but I endured my freshman year, and I had more old farmers coming out of the stands, slapping me on the back. They're like, "Son, you were the most common," because they watching out there on that mat. They said, "You're so tiny compared to this big old behemoth." They're like, "You look like a pimple on an elephant's ass." I was so small compared to them.
So with competing in all these matches, learning some tricks and trades from the magazines and whatnot,
Yep.
What drove you to have this success, and what attributes contributed to your wins, which led to many, many championships down the road?
Well, so just by reading more things. My freshman year, I went through quite a transformation of just lifting weights. I mean, every day, 5 days a week, I was lifting. They had a universal weightlifting machine, which most gyms, most people don't even understand what I'm talking about. It was a square box, had 4 stations on 4 different sides. One side, just sit there. It's a military press. One side to lay down. There's a bench press. Then there's a lat pull down. There's a curl machine bar. There's a dip bar in one area. There's a leg press. So it was actually like all in one type of a deal right there. And literally, my goal was I wanted to be able to lift the stack on every exercise that was on there. My goal was within by the end of my freshman year, I want to be lifting the stack. My power increased, but then I was doing things very specifically. In my mind, I kept thinking, what are wrestling type of movements? How do I need to develop my strength? Because a lot of wrestling is like pulling in single legs, pulling in double legs, pulling in cradle, stuff like this. So a lot of lat pull downs, a lot of seated pulls. And it all worked for me, and I was starting to see more success. By my sophomore year in high school, a couple college coaches happened to see my older brother and I together. They, for whatever reason, they thought that we were a set of twins. And if you guys keep up the good work, there could be some potential scholarship money down the road. Because at that point in my life, I was thinking in my mind, once high school was done, how am I going to go to college? And so in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, my first thought was I had a couple of my teammates that had older siblings that upon high school graduation, they went into the military for 4 years, came out, and then went to college on the GI Bill. So that was option number one. Because, the thought of asking mom or dad for money never entered my mind. Mom and dad are feeding and clothing 8 children right now. It was going to the Goodwill, going to the Salvation Army, and picking up secondhand things. Again, did that bother me? No, it was new to me, and it was again big economic type of savings. So it was again. I said that was option number one. So that when these college coaches are starting to say you have some potential for some scholarship money, I'm thinking, okay, we have option number two. And I go, let's try to explore this more. I need to get better. So I read more, but then I really started to take my career a whole lot more. I was already doing folk style wrestling is done during the collegiate season, high school season. United States is the only country that does folk style wrestling. The rest of the world does freestyle Greco. So my freshman year in high school, I did folk style, but by that summer, I was doing freestyle wrestling. By my sophomore year, I added Greco-Roman wrestling on top of that. So I'm doing folk style wrestling. So during the season, I might be picking up 50 matches. But during that spring, summer, fall, I might be picking up an additional 100 plus matches. So wow. By the time I'm a sophomore, by the time I'm a junior, am I really a junior? Am I really a sophomore? Just based on sheer mat experience alone, I'm already a freshman, sophomore. But then, it all worked out for me. I mean, literally by the time I was a senior, I was the number one pick at my weight class. And I had the academics to go along there with it. I was always basically by like a 3.2, 3.3 type of an athlete, academically, I should say speaking. And I also had a congressional nomination, so I could have went to the Air Force Academy and that on top of all that. So I'm an athlete with a brain, and trust me, I've worked with a lot of dumb jocks. I would gladly work with an athlete with a brain any day than a dumb jock.
Right. Two-time All-American at Arizona State University, and of course, in their respective Hall of Fame, which leads to after that, continuing on with amateur wrestling, you were competing for a spot on the 1984 U.S. Men's Olympic team. That was, yes, of course, in L.A. at the time. So, if I understand, you were competing in the same division with Lou Bannock, and you guys were trying to qualify to get to that spot. But apparently it ended in some controversy. So that didn't end well in your favor. So if you could kind of explain what happened, what ultimately led him to getting the spot and not you, and you sat there as the alternate for the 84 Olympics.
Well, again, that is what has been. That was one of my ultimate goals. Was I wanted to make an Olympic team, and I wanted to win an Olympic gold medal. I do have a very great resume, but there are a couple things that are still missing, and that was one of them. I actually tried my senior year in high school. I tried out for my very first Olympic team. So again, at 17 years of age, I'm out there with men like the Peterson brothers, for example, Ben and John Peterson. Both of them were. Their perspective at different times, but prospectively have both had won silver medals and both have won gold medals. So I'm out there with people, and literally, in the process, I'm pushing them to the limits to where they're like going, we've never had a 17-year-old beat an Olympic gold medalist. We've never had a 17-year-old beat a Olympic silver medalist right now. And so the referees were even kind of siding with the points kind of against me. And so I ended up losing a match 7-5. It was kind of ironic because that's all during my senior year. And yet by my freshman year in college, again, the same transition, the same drive is going. If you actually saw my very first semester of all the academic classes that I had signed myself up for, you would see that there was no future of graduation for Dan Severn. because my freshman year, I took a nutrition class because I wanted to know that everything that I ate was going to make me the ultimate athlete. I took a weightlifting class so that I knew how to design programs specifically for the sport of wrestling. I took a judo class so that I could learn to use my feet and legs like a second pair of arms, and literally it all was working for me. I had a very much a Cinderella year where I wound up going 34-0 and 24 pins. I pinned 5 out of the 6 NCAA place finishers, including the NCAA champion twice in the same week, on top of pinning an Olympic gold and silver medalist all in that same time frame. So I was on fire until a injury stopped me.
Oh.
And that was even then, I did not lose that match. They beat the referee and the rings and the mat physician that was there, and even my coach wanted me not to continue. And I pleaded with all 3 of them because I'm winning this match, and this could be the last match of my career for all I know. I already know what's the mindset of my opponent. I go, let me go out and finish it. I go, and if I get into another bad situation, you can stop the match at that point in time. They basically agreed. I wrestled it, and basically 30 seconds later, I pinned my opponent. So I finished up my career unblemished in my freshman year. But then at 18 years of age, I'm sitting there in front of an orthopedic surgeon who basically says, well, you're done. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm done for the season. And he's like, no, he says, you tore up your knee pretty good. You go, you're done. You're going to have some surgery and stuff like that. And I'm thinking to myself, I wasn't ready for that. So I had some surgery done. I had as much minimal type of things as I possibly could have done because I just didn't want to go into anything really evasive with this. And literally, I started to rehab myself. I always tell people I've been ahead of the curve for so many years. I can't even think of the exercise machine right now that you actually stand on now and you work the hand to keep your cardiovascular upper body strength and stuff like that going. They have that machine now, but see, back then we had an Aerodyne bicycle. We had a couple of them inside of our wrestling room. So literally, I would sit back in behind it and I would grab the pedals. And literally, I was doing the exact same exercise, but I was doing this back in 1976. These machines didn't come out until probably somewhere in the mid to latter 80s or early 90s did these machines ever come out. So again, I always tell people I was way ahead of I knew how to use equipment differently, but then I still equate that with growing up on a farm. You didn't throw away nothing. You repurposed everything.
Right.
That's a big fact as a farm kid myself.
What's that?
I said that's a big fact as a farm kid myself.
Oh, okay, great. You'll love this one right there. Is that one day I'm out there and I'm repairing this pin, and I'm banging this spike after spike after spike, and my father can see how aggressively I'm putting spike after spike after spike into these 2x4s and stuff like that. My dad's like going, son, don't you think that's a little bit overkill? I'm like, Pops, it's probably going to have to last us another 100 years, you know. And he looks at me, he goes, I like the way you're thinking.
That's great.
Yeah, no, because we were using a certain piece of equipment that we would pass by some farmers, and they would have like an old antique they'd have all painted up, and they'd have it out in the front lawn like a piece of history. I'm thinking, dang, that piece of history is better than the piece of equipment we're using right now on the farm.
So after the Olympics experience, the opportunity to enter a different playing field in the world of wrestling came about. You came into contact with a man by the name of Al Snow. Can you give us a background story on how this man helped teach you and learn the ways of professional wrestling?
Well, I was approached through the mid-'80s by a couple of different smaller independent professional wrestling organizations that wanted me to turn pro. But had I turned pro at that point in time, I would have lost my amateur wrestling capability, and that meant too much to me. So as of the 1992 Olympics, it was a green light. You could be both amateur and professional simultaneously. as long as you were not currently on a high school wrestling team or on a high school or a collegiate wrestling team. So again, the rules just changed at that 1992 time frame. So that's what worked kind of in my favor. And I mean, I went after it aggressively. I went after it aggressively for a couple of different reasons. I actually, at that same time era, I relocated to Coldwater, Michigan. I relocated there for a job opportunity to where in the course of 2 weeks, I sold a home. I bought a home. I went to work. I bought a home based upon this nice salary, this profit sharing, all the things that I was being told. Simply to know I went to work, and at the end of the first week, I did not have a job. And so it's like I'm not trying to let anyone know in my family that to panic or something like this. That okay, I'm jumping right on board of this this professional wrestling gig. I'm going over to Al Snow. At the time, I was also the head wrestling coach for the Michigan Wrestling Club, and the president of the organization was a gentleman by the name of, his real name was Dennis Kasperwitz, but he was also a professional wrestler underneath the name of Denny Cass. But he also was one half of the Fabulous Kangaroos. He had a couple of different types of ring names in that form. So when our normal business would be conducted for the Michigan Wrestling Club was concluded, it was like going, okay, Dennis, I need to now speak to Denny Cass, the professional wrestler, because I need to put food on the table. I got to keep a roof over my family's head. So I was exploring the wacky world of professional wrestling, but I also seen a flyer that came out on a tough man contest. And all I know is that I had never, at that point in time, I don't think I had ever even put on a pair of boxing gloves in my life. First prize was $1,000, and I needed $1,000. So again, I think how that cliche goes, that necessity is the mother of invention. No, necessity was the father of invention. I had to recreate myself, and I went to this tough man contest. Tough man was always like two days of competition. Friday night, you do one match. And then Saturday, whatever's left, and there's only 2 weight classes, 190 pounds and under and anything over. And I was that category of anything over. I'd already been training with Al Snow for a couple weeks. And tough man contest comes up. I'm in this ring, and I realize it's a professional wrestling ring. And I got this big old hoss. He's wearing the boxing trunks. He's got on the tank top. And here I am wearing an amateur wrestling singlet. I'm wearing amateur wrestling shoes. My hair is nice and dark at this point in time with the mustache. And I don't even know how to hold my hands. I'm looking like old John L. Sullivan himself there, the way I'm holding these hands, and people are laughing at me. And all I know is that when they rung that bell, that big old hoss took a couple big old haymaker swings. I got on dodge. I ran right into him. Basically, I've got him moving backwards, and we're about to hit these ring ropes. And I already know what's going to happen. There's going to be this rubber band effect. We're going to go, and then I'm going to feel all this weight and inertia coming forward. I locked around his body, and I threw him in a belly to belly. Threw him in a tough man contest where it's all boxing. Crowd explodes, and the owner at the time, a gentleman by the name of Art Dorr, he looks like Wolfman Jack. He's got this beard, hair all slicked on back right there. He stands on up there. He's got the microphone. I look down at him. He looks up at me. He hears the crowd. He's like, "Well, throw him again." I'm like, "Game on! I can do this." So again, awesome. I was never. There was nothing I did that looked like boxing. There, it's like I hold up, club that person this way, get an underhook, bumping him with like a hip toss, and drop my head down, clubbing it this way, clubbing it that way, hip tossing him over. I look like some wild hillbilly out there, but I was on a mission, and all I'll just say is, 2 days, 5 men later, I walked out of there with $1,000 and newfound skills.
That's awesome.
There was no retreat. I had no other outlet. I mean, my retreat, there was no retreat. I had to make money. Even working with Al, I was only down there for like the first couple weeks, and I'm thinking this is moving way too slow. When I would see guys inside the ring talking, I'm thinking to myself, get out of the ring. I need to get in this ring. I need to be practicing this. I need to be practicing that. To where I saw he had 4 ring posts laying over the corner there. I'm like, Al, what's the story about these 4 ring posts? And literally, I just took some dimensions off of what he had there. I bought the 4 ring posts off of him, and I built my own ring within the first month or 2 of taking professionals to training.
Wow. So you've always just taken life by the bull. I mean, the bull by the horn of life, and just made it your own. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, but I had there was no retreat. It's like a tag match. There is nobody I can give for the hot tag. I got no one else to back in there. It's me. So again, I say, because the way that cliche goes, the way that it's supposed to read, necessity is the mother of invention. No, necessity was the father. I've got 5 children. They didn't know Pops didn't have a job. They didn't know how that money was coming in. And again, my very first professional wrestling debut, I wasn't relying on professional wrestling either, because there was no money to be had there. My very first professional wrestling show ever, I'm in Lima, Ohio, at a prison show, a yard show of all things, and it was so comical, because everything that Al taught me about the psychology of how a heel acts, how a babyface acts. None of it worked at that show, because all of the inmates were cheering the bad guys and booing the baby faces. It was like everything in reverse. So we did have a good laugh about that when it was all done and over with, but it was just comical at the time. And I'm thinking none of this stuff is working that Al Snow had been teaching me.
No. Well, you think of it, you're wrestling in front of convicts. You think they're going to cheer for something that's as positive? I mean, you would think.
I was so new to it. I did not know. I was thinking, well, this is gospel because Al's teaching me all this. But no, it was, Rudy, the fun thing about it was Al also ended up inviting at one show that he held at his facility. He actually had a wonderful facility in Lima, Ohio, and he ended up having Candy Divine on the show. And she was dating, I'm trying to think of the wrestler right now, that she was dating, that he had ties with the UWFI organization.
Oh,
and so.
Is the Dirty White Boy?
Yeah, exactly. With Dirty White Boy. So that's how, I'll just say that, he ended up calling me up out of the blue. And all this stuff happened within a very short time frame. He calls me up, and all I know is that he invites me down to a tryout. Literally, I show up to a tryout. I'm the only guy that wore a sports jacket tie. I had a briefcase and my duffel bag. And I was the only guy that ever showed up. Everybody else looked like that typical 1970s professional wrestler. Long bleached blonde hair, big old bulky, steroided up bodies and stuff like that, all tan to the nines. And, basically the Japanese, there was a Japanese guys there, and with Tom Burt, and I think there's one other person that was there, and they're like, well, please, would you demonstrate this for us, demonstrate anything else you want to show things. But then, it went kind of short and sweet. And then all I was just saying, like, I'm not really getting any feedback. Well, then once that was all done, I'm there with these like 4 or 5 other guys, and then we come back after having lunch, and like, well, there's only one contract being given out, and basically this is all going to be done in a shoot type style because it's a shoot style format. Well, the other 4 didn't survive. I destroyed the other 4, and it's like I walked out of there with the contract because, again, I got no parachute, I got no safe landing anymore. I have to do it all. So.
All right. So I'm going to move ahead just a little bit in the timeline here because I'm going to get into, because I know you've got other because you went over to Japan to wrestle. You had stints with the NWA. And then, we'll get back to that here really briefly. But what I wanted to find out here is kind of going into your UFC. When you've won the Triple Crown and,
Yep.
When you faced Shamrock in the finals in the Ultimate, um, Shamrock just seems like a really intense guy. And, but then of course, like I said, after his stint there, he got into WWF in '97 while you were still fighting, and eventually you got over there after him. Um, but what I want to know here is between your guys' battles, I mean, just in the heat of competition, I know today is just totally different, but was there like any type of animosity between you and Shamrock at that point? Or was it just in just the competitive nature at the time whenever you guys
Well, I
had
mean,
to compete against each other?
I guess I really did not know who Ken Shamrock was.
Yeah.
I didn't know who he was. Really didn't care who he was. I mean, if he was someone that was in my path, well, I'm going to bulldoze over him and look through my rear view mirror. I probably won't even look through my rear view mirror. I don't look at. I keep moving ahead. Again, a lot of people have tried to put Ken and I in the same category. We're not in the same category. We're two completely different people. He came from a broken home. He was adopted. So again, I'm not trying. Again, I'm not saying none of this to be mean. I'm just stating facts. He grew up in a boys' home, and so in the boys' home, there's there's like that strongest fitness of survival. The strong prevail, and then there's also a pecking order, and then who's going to be the king of the compound, things of that nature. So he probably was in all kinds of fights through his youth and things of nature. Do I know any of this for positively for fact? Not really, but this is just me pure speculating. I've done a couple different podcasts with Ken, and again, some things have come up. Yeah, he grew up on one side of the railroad tracks. I grew up on the other side of the railroad tracks. I stated before, I mean, to do all the different things that I've done over the course of the decades that I've done it, and be able to say that I'm lifetime chemical free. Very few professional wrestlers could ever spout those words out of their mouth. So again, it's an industry that I would not really ever try to promote too many people going into it. I would try to discourage as many people because it's a tough industry, and it's a industry that will lie to you in so many different ways. But if you're going to go into business to be an entrepreneur or something like that, I would recommend taking 1 or 2 semesters in professional wrestling 101 and 102 because it will prepare you for the absolute worst in people. And so again, I look at it, I'm giving it a backhanded compliment. It has helped me out a great deal in a lot of different things. I have learned certain aspects of the psychology of professional wrestling that I utilized in my cage fighting world because most people don't realize I was a professional wrestler first as of 1992. I was a cage fighter by 1994, 2 years later. But I also, being this amateur wrestler since 1969, the fact that, people understand what a pedigree I have when it comes to amateur wrestling. Amateur wrestling inside the United States is nice and civilized. It's not until you are on foreign soil and have a foreign opponent and have a foreign referee, you're going to get screwed over left and right. I tend to always reiterate my very first international experience ever. I'm like, I don't know, I think I'm 17 years of age. I'm part of a USA All-Star team, wrestlers that are between 16 and 18 years of age, and we're supposed to be wrestling against Turkish wrestlers, 16 to 18 years of age. My first opponent is a 35-year-old military man. 35-year-old man. He's got a buzz cut, and he's got this meanness and ugliness, about him as he's stalking back and forth. Can't wait to get his hands on this weenie-looking American. Because again, into the mid-70s, I had a lot more hair on my head at that point in time. So that referee blows a whistle. He does the collar tie where he reaches back, but he grabs a wad of hair, and he pulls my head back. He headbutts me, splitting my eyebrow open, and then to add insult to injury, he tears my wad of my hair out and then flings it on the ground. So as I'm backpedaling, I got my hand up against my eye. I'm backpedaling. I'm looking at the referee like, the rule is My opponent should be disqualified for unsportsmanlike conduct. But we're not in Kansas City anymore, Toto. We're in his backyard. He's probably related to the referee here right now. Referee simply just kicks the tuft of hair out of the way, and he cautions me for passivity. Stalling. This happens in the first 15, 20 seconds of a match. Matches were 9 minutes long, 3-minute periods. And at that time, you did not stop for blood. Nowadays, if someone gets a bloody nose, they stop the mat. They got to wipe, sterilize everything down, wipe all the rest. I mean, it's chaotic. Back then, you wrestle with a handkerchief inside your singlet where you pull it out, you wipe, you shove right back in, you keep going. If you stop, that's a penalty. And so literally, I reach in, wipe, shove right back in. Oh, I took him down. I hit him with the hardest double leg. He probably, I tried to rip right through him. As he goes on down, he doesn't want to go on his back. He goes belly down. I hit him with the meanest cross face. Bam! I hit right across his face. But now I feel pain shoot up my arm because he is biting into my forearm, trying to take out a chunk of USDA. And I'm thinking, now I'm going to kill him. Basically, I reached down, I grabbed my wrist, and I'm trying to roll that bone up because I'm going to shove this chunk of cartilage to the black hole of space, and they can bury him out in the sand dunes. I don't care. It's him or me, and I choose survival of me. And referee, he sees the snap, crackle, pop, stuff like this. He's blowing his whistle. He's trying to pull my arm away. As I stand up, he penalizes me for an illegal maneuver. I show him the fang marks in my forearm. He penalizes my opponent for an illegal maneuver. At the end of the first period, he sends my opponent back to his corner. He's a bloody mess. I go back to my corner. I'm a bloody mess. His coach, his Turkish coach, was so angry that this weenie-looking American is beating his athlete. His coach pulls out a stick about the thickness of a broom handle and proceeds to beat his athlete to motivate him. I go, how do you think that would go over in the United States with someone out there trying to inspire your offspring there to get out there and do a little bit better job? Yeah. That was the people. That was my very first international experience. So climbing into a cage after having literally hundreds and hundreds of freestyle and Greco-Roman matches overseas, that has prepared. Well, I'm desensitized.
I would be too after that.
Capable, inflicting all kinds of pain. Tell me what the rules are, baby. I can play your game.
There you go.
So after the Triple Crown, you win, and you're the only one to hold a mixed martial arts title and a pro wrestling title at the time.
Yep.
What kind of thing?
Until 20 years later, that this cat by the name of Lesnar.
I was going to bring that up about it.
Kind of clear your throat like that.
Great old Paul Heyman.
Again, I say it like that. I've never met the guy. So again, I probably shouldn't just dish on him like that. But I'll just say that he's been taking probably some pretty special, one-a-day vitamins for quite some time now. Yeah.
I don't even know where to go with it. But so
I know you can't. I have a stubborn 70. He didn't get all those muscles from eating me spinach now, did he?
I mean, I'm not going to say that to Brock Lesnar because I'm not a beast. You two, on the other hand, I mean, that would have been a fight that I would have loved to seen in the prime. I'm not going to lie.
Well, yeah, but at the same token, it's kind of. I tell people I'm lifetime chemical free. Now think about it if I had gotten on something. Think about that. I was approached by companies that they're like, oh Dan, we don't know really how to say this, but you're old, and your testosterone is probably on the other side. They're dropping on down into the bucket. They go, we can get you on this, and this. We only want a small percentage of the winnings, but we'll get you on this, and this. We'll get you back up to about 8 at your size. We can probably get you up close to 280, 290, maybe just over 300. But you'll be ripped and shredded, and you'll probably have about 40% more power. I already have power. I go, you want to give me another 40%? I go, I'll be pulling body parts off of people and just tear off their arm and then beating them with the bloody stump right there, But I always tell people that I do work with kids. I do work with a lot of youth. And this is the greatest tool you'll ever have, the brain.
I mean, it's the strongest muscle.
It is. If you know how to train it. I mean, there was where you guys. I wish there was. I wish this cyber world was around decades earlier. There would be so much footage. Because I know when I was first being recruited, I coached at Michigan State also. I was assistant coach there, and literally Michigan State was in the basement of the Big Ten. I mean, they were kind of like the laughing stock. And literally in 1 year, I took that program because I'm just the assistant coach. But usually the head coach, they do recruiting, stuff like that. The assistant one that really runs all of the practice. So literally I was doing 2-a-day workouts. And if you didn't show up to my workout, you might be in your dorm room, but you would wake up because I'd be standing above you, thumping you on the forehead. And as you woke up, you see me, and I'm like going, "You come with me, one-on-one workout time." And then literally, I go, "No, you want to be a part of this wrestling team? You be a part of this wrestling team. Otherwise, get off." I said, "You want to do something? I'll work there with you." But again, I wasn't being mean to anybody. I showed them. I led by example. I'm running with them. I'm lifting with them. I'm drilling with them, and I'm showing them. In the office alone, I had one couch. I called it my shrink couch, to where I had on headsets, and it was like motivational, positive type of thinking. And they're actually literally taking a nap while they're listening to this positive type of motivation. And then then over and the two chairs in front of the TV. Now I'm going through their match analyzation to actually look at the match and knowing how to break things on down to see what you're good at and what you're weak at, and then how to look at the same at your opponents. And so I was doing this, and literally I took Michigan State from the laughing stock in the basement up to the, I think it's in the top five, top five in 1 year's time. So that's incredible ground to have changed.
Right, yeah. But when you were doing this world of both mixed martial arts and professional wrestling, what was your mindset at that time, and like how were you preparing to go from this extreme to kind of this extreme? That's two different styles, two different worlds. How did you prepare for that?
I had no time to think. I literally, when I tell people that during the time frame that I was working for the WWF, again now known as the WWE, I was probably, again, I had a very unique contract. The contract I had, the average worker I think was working 180 plus dates. And then when you look at travel to and travel back from, 180 some odd dates is easy, 200 plus days a year that you're on the road. And if you're any of the stars, even more time because you have to do all these kind of promotionary type of things. I only had to do, I think, I was contracted for right around 50 matches. So I was working like 1/3, and I knew they literally had to let me know what the schedule ahead of time. So when they were letting know that they needed my services, I started calling into like the travel agent, stuff like that. I would travel it earlier that day. I would travel it early that day, and I would go and do a speaking engagement or go teach a class somewhere else. Then I would go do my job at WWF, and then maybe go and do an appearance or a speaking engagement, sports bar, stuff of that nature. So in the 24 hours I lost, I was pulling down 2, 3, 4 different paychecks in the same 24 hours. That most of these guys, all they cared about is, going and doing their job. It actually boggled my mind when they're like, they want you to show up early at the arena, but early afternoon. I go, early afternoon? The show doesn't even go on until 8 o'clock at night. Why do I have to be there at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Well, I learned out real quick after the first couple of weeks because of how many other guys, not all of them, but how many of them are very derelict in their duties of sauntering on in eventually, but then who's sauntering on in underneath the influence of some kind of chemicals, Who's still trying to shake off, the brewskis that they put on the night before? I mean, literally, WWF was a very well-run machine. It's almost like a military operation. How they laid all this cable all over the place there, set up all these. Walk in that first door and be like, Vince's office this way, the cafeteria on that way. They would just post all these different notes there to where they knew where the talent was going to be, where the cafeteria was going to be, and then you get down to the next wall, and then you see, okay, this way, that way. It was really great that they did, but they did it because I think a lot of the talent was very derelict in their duties. And then literally, I finally, one of the road agents, they said, Dan, you don't have to be here on time. We know you're going to be here. I was like going, okay, cool. Then that's why I said, my first couple times, I was there and I'm just sitting around, waiting around thinking, what? Why am I here? And then he's like, Dan, you don't have to worry about it. Boom. Because after the very first time staying at the same hotel all the other guys stayed at, I no longer stayed at the same hotel. I would find out where's the talent staying at, and I stayed somewhere else because I don't have to worry about all the fans waiting in the lobby and all kinds of other things that will get talent in trouble in different ways. So it's like going, I was a man on a mission because, again, I'm taking care of my family. I'm taking care of all my bills that are coming in.
Yeah. No, it's because after getting back here to the wrestling part, you're in the WWF for like a short year, between the whole NWA invasion with Cornette and the Rock and Roll Express and the made up Midnight Express, whatever the case it is, and working with doing a program with Shamrock also with there, and of course Owen Hart involved with that too, between the dungeon match and the Lions Den match. I mean, my gosh. Imagine the dungeon was a pretty I'm sure it had its own unique aura too, being up there in Calgary and Stu's home and all that.
No, I really did enjoy that. That was to be up in Calgary and to be at the Hart residence and to be chatting with Stu Hart himself up in his living room. And I guess some of the guys must have told him a little bit about my background. So I was just sitting there just kind of listening to stories, but he started asking me some very direct questions, and I was just being very respectful and chatting with him. So I mean, my role was really easy that night because all I was being was just a guest referee, and Owen and Ken, they were downstairs in the dungeon looking at how they could put together the best kind of match that they possibly could, and it was they actually pulled off a good match, I thought. So,
oh yeah, I mean, for a dungeon match, I mean, you can only go so long. You can only go so long in those type of matches, and and of course the SummerSlam the next month. Being a theater in New York during that Lions Den, that was I don't think I ever saw a build up like that ever again. It was a unique build of that Lions Den. As far as
the strange part about that the Lions Den matches, because you got the rest of the WWF show is actually in one part of the arena, and then we're in this one little room, and we're basically filming this one singular match taking place. That they've got the cage. I mean, that's WWF didn't spare no cost factors. I mean, to have have a cage brought in and everything all set up there just to do one match. So it was cool. Steve Blackman was another person that was kind of mixed in that same group right there. It was kind of known as the Shooter Squad with Steve Blackman and Ken Shamrock, and then with Owen Hart.
Yeah. Steve was really quick too, and I really liked the time that he had in there too. After your time in when WWF concluded, you ventured into another aspect into the world of mixed martial arts on the promoter side with the Danger Zone. So, how did that get started, and what level of competitors were you going or looking for, and what was your mission behind that whole promotion?
Well, I mean, the reality was that there was only one MMA company really at the time, and that was the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And I really did not care for the way that the matchmaker / booker was running the operation. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Are we talking about
Are
currently
you
or
talking about Dana
Well,
before?
no. Way back then. Way back then. No, way back.
no.
Okay, it was Jorge and Gracie again. I hold nothing against
Right.
him. I don't hold nothing against him per se because I never really met the guy. I superficially met him a couple times, but the reality is, again, I'm a sharp athlete, and I grew up on a farm. And there's a great farm boy analogy: is you never let the fox inside of the hen house. Okay, and the reality is, Horian is half partner with Art Davie. Art Davie is the businessman. He's the brainchild of this whole Ultimate Fighting Championship. He heard about this thing called the Gracie Challenge. Again, I'm giving this a very vague type of thing here, just so we keep things moving. But he heard about this Gracie Challenge, so he ended up talking to Horian and basically making him a partner. Well, again, it's it's his youngest brother that now is stepping inside of the cage. To me, it's like, and Horian is the matchmaker. So were any of these matches fixed? None that I could ever see. None were fixed. But the reality is, we're all the best guys being invited in the first place. I don't know. And again, who's the matchmaker and who's setting up the bouts? Who gets to face who? And the line of download, because again, what people watch today is a UFC show where people compete one match. Back then, you had to go through a tournament format. And when you think about fighting three men in the same 2-hour pay-per-view that prevails today, you have to make quick work of your opponent because you need whatever cardiovascular for your next opponent. Plus, you want to try to minimize any type of injuries that may take place as well. You don't want to get hurt. So you just want to continue to move forward and make, as I always tell people, because I did have a lot of fast matches. I told people about not being paid by the hour. It's called piecework.
Right? Right. Exactly. You get paid by the job, buddy. If it takes 2 hours or 2 minutes, it don't matter.
Exactly. Well, again, I do hold 2 different records for doing that. And UFC number 4, I just said I got my foot in the door. Dan Severn showed up. By UFC number 5, Jim Brown gave me the moniker The Beast because he could not believe the transformation I made, because that's when Dan Severn, the competitor, the no holds barred fighter, showed up. I've only done 2 training camps in a 20-year career. 2 training camps where I left my family behind. I stayed by myself. I trained a lot by myself, but there's other times where you need bodies. And I did things, and did it work? Oh, it did. I mean, like I said, for UFC number 5, I destroyed 3 men in the shortest time ever. That still stands to this day. And then in the I think in the course of the Ultimate, I ended up going through 3 men in the longest, just over 1 hour. And this was in Denver, Colorado, mile high elevation. So again, 32 days, 35 days. Now, when you think about that, gentlemen, only 2 training camps in a 20-year career. How is that possible?
My God, that is crazy.
Well, again, as I said, lifetime chemical free. And I always ask anyone, put it out there, public, find another training camp Dan Severn ever did. I did 5 days, an hour and a half a day with Al Snow for UFC number 4. But I really wish there had been video on that, because you guys would have been dying laughing with it, because I have Al Snow and 2 other professional wrestling wannabes, one old pair of boxing gloves inside the professional wrestling ring, to the point that they're arguing with each other. They're throwing the gloves at each other because they don't want to face me, because I'm not throwing a single punch. All I know is that as they try to clinch kick, I just would clinch them, and then I would launch them. I would headlock them. I would slap on amateur wrestling moves. What is amateur wrestling moves? Amateur wrestling moves are called principles of leverage. Another way of putting it, it hurts. I'm using legalized pain, but now knowing I'm jumping into UFC, it doesn't even have to be an illegal move. There's only 2 rules: no biting, no eye gouging. And even then, they were not grounds for disqualification. It'd be like, hey, give him his eyeball back, Rudy, and don't do that again. I say that comedically, and yet it did happen where Big Paul Varlins, the Alaskan polar bear, got eye raked a couple times to where he had eye problems for several years and eventually losing sight in that eye. So it did happen.
Wow.
So again, that's where a lot of your young viewers, listeners, they like, yeah, I saw the UFC. Yeah, you're what you're watching now is hey, you're fighting onesies right now, fighting onesies in a night, fight 3 men in a night, knowing that each match is unlimited and someone is going to be unconscious because there is no time limits. It's until basically you are either unconscious because you got choked out, knocked out. And back then, the ringside physician was able to stop a match. Big John McCarthy, best known referee. Yep. The first rule that got changed was he also had the right to stop a match. He said the doc could be on this side of the cage. The 2 opponents are over here. He's down there watching. He's right there next to him. He could see the guy's gurgling on his own blood. He wants to have the ability to stop him. Good idea. But again, I have a way of getting off into tangents. Answer your question. I saw the corruption of the UFC back then. And I'm going, you guys can play underneath the table. I'm going to go right over top of the table, and I'm going to hit you right between the eyes with a straight-up organization. I just wish I had the financial backing, but they had deep pockets.
I mean, I was a fan of the Pride more than I was UFC, except for the early years. The early years, I'm going to tell you right now, I remember going to Family Video every Friday night to make sure to see if there was not a new VHS of UFC out so that my dad and I could sit in the living room and watch you choke guys out, watch Royce Gracie mess dudes. Like, I miss old school UFC. I truly do.
Well, again, but if you watch them side by side, the old school one is more like a freak show because you did have lopsided matches. You had David versus Goliaths. You had people that were, you had what's the guy's name there from Chicago, Illinois? He goes up against Manny Yarborough, and you had to give up 400 pounds of weight difference. I mean, can you think about standing in the cage, looking across? Keith Hackney versus Manny Yarborough. Can you imagine what's going through your mind knowing that, again, there's only 2 rules. Nobody no eye gouging. And Manny Yarborough rushes Keith Hackney at that point in time. They hit the actual door of the cage and blows the lock straight off the door and blows Keith right out on the floor. They literally had to, they actually have a double bolt system now because of that one match. Back then, it's just a singular bolt that slid through there. But you didn't figure Keith Hackney about 200 pounds, Manny Yarborough, what was he, 400, I'll just say 420, 450, somewhere in that range. But you got all that weight momentum going. Oh, you got a force of 1,000 pounds or more hitting that wall. Boom, blew right on through. But as I said, Keith Hackney, he's a good guy. He ended up winning that match that night. David slew Goliath.
Yeah, that was the best part about UFC back then, in my opinion, was the fact that you had the mismatch format.
Well, but you said you liked Pride. Well, Pride.
Oh yeah,
Pride like that circus atmosphere. They like that David versus Goliath. They wanted to see Godzilla versus Mothra.
my favorite fighter out of there was. I just had his name. I was just thinking of it. He lost in the UFC on his first fight. Mirko Krokal.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Oh, the guy devastating kicking ability.
Oh, one of my favorite fighters. And then the reason I lost interest in the UFC was because I was watching that fight, and to me, I'm not a fighter. I have no recollection of what you do, really, except for being a fan, right? I felt like he dropped guard for a kick that he made famous in Pride. Like that top high kick that he used to do in Pride. And he knocked many dudes out to it, and he lost to it in the UFC on his first match. And I swear to God, I will stand on this soapbox for the rest of my life. He dropped guard and took the kick.
Yeah, I know I have seen that match in a highlight before, but I've watched very few UFCs in general. I mean, and one of the perks I get as a UFC Hall of Famer is I get couple free tickets if I want to go to any of their pay-per-views. And then for the longest time, I never went to any of them. And to where Dana White used to have his secretary give me a phone call and to say, like, well, remind Dan that he gets a couple free tickets. And so she called me up and I go, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, they didn't see me. Then they're like, I think Dana says, well, call him up again, let him know, remind him, and let him know that we'll fly him out because he might be back in Michigan. She calls up and basically said, we'll fly out and pick you up in a limo and take out the shows. Of it. I go, well, thanks. Okay, thank you. It never cashed in on any of those things. I'm like, we'll put them up at a hotel. We'll do this. I'm like, well, I did. I finally showed it to a couple, but I'll think I may have attended maybe 5 shows, shows in 30 years.
I mean, Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner really brought me back into loving it during that Ultimate Fighter stuff. Yeah. But
that match made it. I mean, to see two guys do a slugger fest like that, or in the words of gosh, what am I drawing a blank here? A slobber knocker, black cowboy hat.
JR. Jim Ross.
Yep. Exactly. I don't know why I had his face, but for life I couldn't pull out his name. But JR, you know, he used to always use that word slobber knocker, and I mean that's where when those two guys went at it, what a war they put on, and anyone should have fell in love with that sport at that point in time. But you don't see that kind of camaraderie to where, I mean, literally both guys were end up getting contracts and opportunities because they put on quite the match. And I come to get to know Forrest there as well, and I've been to the UFC office a couple of times, and then Forrest has given me a nice tour, and even then he didn't know how to take me at that point in time, and then he just couldn't believe how laid back and easy going that I was at with all this stuff. He's like, dude, he says, you're kind of a scary guy. He says, you're so easy go, but man, he goes, you can really turn it on. I go, I've always been that way. I'm the guy that will shake your hand before. I will shake your hand after. No hard feelings for what's coming down the pike. I know what the rules are, and I know how to manipulate the rules to the best of my benefit.
So beyond all of the UFC stuff and all that good stuff, in 2004, you introduced the Danger Zone defensive tactics thing, where you travel around and you help law enforcement learn ground tactics and stuff to help improvise in the field to protect themselves. Has there been any notable where they've come back and said, hey, this helped us out a lot? Like, do you have any stories of the law enforcement saying you did them good?
No, I have. I mean, it's well, first off, a lot of law enforcement, they love the fact when I come in and what I teach is in their words, some of the most effective and best defensive tactics that they have ever been taught. And the thing that I'm always quick to point out is when I walk in, I go, guys, I'm not from your world. The only reason I even know about you guys' world because I happen to be at a law enforcement convention. I was invited into it. I had a group that had reached out to me that said, can you help us with our ground combatives program? I go, I don't know if I can or not. I go, I don't know what you guys do. Bring me in. Show me what you do. And if I can help make a better widget for you, I'm that guy that can make a better widget. Because as a coach, I know how to look at techniques. I understand tactics. So to me, I'm just applying it to a different industry. So I went in there, they showed me what they were doing, but then also it's a different type of equipment. In an MMA match, you're just wearing a pair of trunks when you walk out there. All right. Professional wrestling, you typically, you can be wearing all kinds of weird outfits at that point in time. You might actually be barefoot out there. You might be wearing boots. You might be wearing, I don't know, you might be wearing Arab type shoes and all kinds of weird, wacky type of things right there. So it just always depends differently on the industry. So in law enforcement, I had to be put into like more of a law enforcement type of gear, a duty belt on. A lot of them, they'll have the bulletproof vest that's on, and it just makes a world of different when you have to move around with all this gear on. Also, you have to roll one way, and then your gun blocks you. You roll this way, and your taser blocks you. So you have to be aware of your equipment, because this equipment that you're bringing with you, that's within arm's reach of your arm's reach. It's also, if you're grappling around on the ground now it's also within the reach of the bad guys. So you have to be aware of that, of where your weapon is and how to keep it in its holster, so your equipment is not being used against you. So I'm very passionate when I teach these classes, because I tell them that I had the opportunity of doing a tap out. I could simply just look up at Big John and go, "Hey, John, pull this animal off me. I don't be mauled on anymore." I go, "You guys don't have a tap out. You don't have that backup. You have to be able to do this on your own ability." Your tap out means lights out forever. So I'm very passionate about that. Stuff I show military is downright evil. But again, I'm not taking prisoners. I'm going to show you some evil stuff. All in theory, how to use this gun, how to use all the stuff that's strapped on you. Because, I always tell people, I haven't killed anyone yet, or have I?
You bad man, you.
I'll put it this way. I have a rather large compost pile out back behind my barn. Yes.
That's terrible and funny at all at the same time.
Yeah. Makes you wonder, though, doesn't it?
I plead the fifth.
Pig farmers are the ones you want to be most aware of. So, be careful of anyway.
Well, again, I mean, pigs are very vicious animals. And there are different accountabilities where a farmer might have like a heart attack or something like that, fall down into a pig pen, and literally they'll come back to find maybe his boot, and that might be about it, because they will eat everything else.
Yeah, it's nasty. It can get really.
Come springtime, after the sows have delivered their litters and stuff like this, there comes a point in time that you've got to neuter all of these young boars that are coming on up. And that's a very chaotic day on the farm, because typically it would be two of my brothers with a 2x4 in each of their hand, and each of them with a hand, because as you reach over the pin and you snag a piglet by the back leg, and you bring them over on the ground, you're holding on their two legs, because this is not being done with Novocaine and stuff like that. You're basically you're denutting them right then and there on the spot. And that sow is trying to come over, and the sow is frothy at the mouth, and the sow has been around for a while. It's got tusks on them as well. And literally, you think that you're cracking that sow so hard with that 2x4, you thought you might have killed it, you might have knocked it down. She come right back at you twice as mean. And like I said, frothing and tusks hanging out, waiting to chomp on you in the process. So again, these are just things that I tell people, I experienced this stuff. It's all part of growing up on a farm.
Yeah. We'll get into one other thing here, and I know that you spent your time here very taking your time out here tonight, and definitely appreciate.
Hopefully you guys have learned this about me. The Beast has got a gift of gab. I did not. I want you to understand this, though. I did not have this before. By my senior in high school, I actually had to take a speech class. I took a speech class because I was being pushed in front of the microphone, and I did not want that. I was good at my athletic career because I was looking for a way to pay for my college tuition, knowing I don't want to graduate and have to owe some college $100,000+. And that's one of the things that's wrong with the United States. The fact that, in order for me to qualify for a loan to buy a house, to buy a car, there's a lot more credit background check that's done on you. And yet, a graduate senior will be sent 3, 4, 5 different credit cards. And you could qualify for all kinds of student loans, knowing that somewhere down the road you have to pay this back. And that's what's wrong, because again, you even have high school counselors that all promote you to go to college, and too many people they're so young and so naive that I'm a big advocate of you should go into military for a couple of years or go to work for a couple of years, because after you graduate out of school and you actually go to work and you realize I hate my boss, I hate my job, so that when I finally do go to college, I will apply myself. But most people go right from high school to college, and then they realize mom or dad aren't around, and there's a drinking party taking place this weekend. How I'm there? Yeah, well, I've seen it. I've seen so many big old kegger parties. My freshman year at ASU, I couldn't believe that. The apartment complex that I lived in. I mean, literally the first weekend I was there, I think it was like a 20 kegger, and they had a live band, and this was a 2-story apartment complex, and you got drunk dudes that are jumping off of the second balcony, hoping that they hit the pool in the deep end. Otherwise, splat. There were no deaths that I'm aware of, or casualties, but there were people that were doing cannonballs off of the second balcony, drunken cannonballs in the process. So that's where there are a lot of things wrong with the United States, but there's no better country to be living in than the United States. Just that people got to wake up and help to redirect it once again.
Right. And so, like I said, you go around with different classes for for the kids, and whether it be maybe for like wrestling classes, even for like mixed martial arts classes. When we talked earlier in the show about how the mind is the most important tool to have. What type or what skill would you want the most kids come away with after having a seminar with you? Like, what is the best tool that they take away and they can actually use, whether it be for other athletic training or something to progress in their skill in their class?
Well, one of the things I hope that they walk away with is hopefully they've been empowered to know that you can actually do some of the things that you're hoping to do. I mean, there's a lot of people that have what I call wishful thinking. There's a difference between wishful thinking and actually pulling out a piece of paper and writing down goals and then looking at them. It was because I know one of the things that I've seen on the side here. One of the questions from one of the fans was, did any of my kids follow in any of my footsteps? And only in limited type of areas. I would never want any of my kids to follow in the footsteps of professional wrestling or MMA unless I was his agent speaking for him, because I got all this knowledge and stuff of it now. Tutelage that I could help guide them through. Professional wrestling, it's a very professional wrestling in the fight world. To be really successful in anything, it's a very lonely world. And I say it's a lonely world because you have a lot of people that are looking to upset the apple cart here. It's some of the worst people are your family and your friends. That they will, because you have your friends, they all talk. They all say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go do that. And do they? Very few of them have ever done. They talk. Nike should have been all over me decades ago because I talked about nothing. I had my plan. I've had a planner since my junior year in high school because of all summer wrestling that I was doing, the different camps that I was going to. I've been living out of a planner since my junior year in high school, and then the planner still holds to this day because I still, utilize a planner. I mean, that's kind of like the comical thing is this is a flowery one, and again the comical thing because I did a picture and post on this. I go, yeah, not a very masculine type of looking planner. I go, it was towards the end. Excuse me about that. It was towards the end of last year, and all the COVID crap and things of that nature that was going on down. Trying to find planners and stuff like that, but they weren't abundant. So I ended up picking up one, thinking that, well, when I get the next one, I'll just transfer things over. But I got too many things written in there. It's like going, no, I'll grin and bear it. I'll pursue through, but I'll be looking for that 2024 planner a little bit sooner than later. But as I tell people, I'm confident in my masculinity to carry a little frilly, flowery looking planner. Yes. I still wake up in the morning and I identify as being a male.
I had a pink phone for the longest time because I was the only one the store had. So I was like, I need a new cell phone. My cell phone died. I don't care. Let's go.
Well, to each their own. That's how I look at it as. To each their own. That's one of the beautiful things about the United States. The land of opportunity where you can be and do anything you want to be. I always look at it this way. I could care less if you want to do naked cartwheels, but do them in your backyard. Don't do them in the front yard because I don't want to see that shit. Okay? That's all I look at it. Have a little discretion right there. I'm trying to drink my morning cup of coffee. I don't want to see that kind of crap. Okay?
Kind of like the open robe, somebody going out and get the paper, It's like,
yeah.
Don't have, tie that robe, will you?
Yeah, exactly. Again, that's what I say. Common sense is not very common anymore. One of the Tim
ain't gonna do no cartwheel. That's
Tim John's going to have to do cartwheels again. There you go. He'll be up on the up there. Yeah. Okay, here. I probably should say this because I might be encouraging you, Tim, right now. I go, Tim, if you want to make a real spectacle of yourself, put bottle rockets aiming out of your ass and light them so that as you're doing this video, they'll be shooting out off in different directions. I go, maybe you should think about that for 4th of July.
Oh, do it, Tim. I want to see it now.
Oh my God!
So there you go. Okay, so again, I'm a thinker outside of the box right now. Okay,
dude, that's fantastic. Well, Dad, in 6 days, guess what? Get out that Just for Men because this is what we're going to be expecting in St. Clair, Missouri, for American Championship Wrestling. Remember, it's acwtheshow.takealeap.com to get your tickets in advance. If not, take your chance at the door. All tickets are $6. You get a chance to meet this individual that's with us here tonight. It's going to be a fantastic show. St. Clair is a very, very hot crowd when it comes to ACW, and it's going to be a packed house. So looking to seeing everybody there. I will be there in attendance, and just come out. We have fun. If you don't know what you're missing, $6 is all it takes to get in the door. Find out what it's all about, and you get to meet this man that's been with us here tonight, the one and only Dan the Beast Severn. Once again, and you can see all about Dan by visiting dansevern.com. Go there, check out his biography. Check out, you got merch there on the website as well, right?
That it's just so people understand. Right now, that website under construction. Yeah, they're not going to see nothing on that one, but that's okay. Somewhere in the next, I'll say, few weeks, it'll be up and running there once again. But right now, they may not see nothing, but that's okay. It'll be there. Check it on out. It's again, gentlemen, I really enjoyed doing this interview there with you. I've known Searcher for quite some time. He's putting on a great. He always puts on great shows. He'll have on some great talent, and the fact that it's for good cause there on top of things. So again, that's where come on out, support this. It's a very economical type of thing, and I'll have a couple championship belts on on display, because I know one of the other people that I saw it kind of scroll through there, because I do have a NWA belt that was given to me by Luthez himself. So again, that's very precious to me. Lou's long gone, but the fact that I did not know who Luthez was in the beginning, but then the more and more I found out about it, the analogy I use is that Ric Flair has always claimed to be the man, while Luthez was the man. So he very accomplished athlete, a great human being. So that'll be one of the belts that I will have with me and will be on display.
Perfect. All right. Well, Dan, thank you very much. I'll definitely be seeing you Saturday because I will be on the card. And safe travels getting there. And like I say, have a great week. I know I will. And I'll definitely be feeling better, not having to drink all this Gator Light or whatever it is. I don't know. I just felt like dirt today. So, but I'm getting through it. So good to see you once again. Thanks again. Hey, you're always welcome back too. If you got a lot more stories, I mean, heck, we're here for it, man. Well, we're just here to share the best.
I never thought I was going to be such a storyteller, but that's what I am anymore. But it's kind of like going, I do have a lot of stories to tell because I've lived a lot and I've done an awful lot for over a number of decades. So again, I'm that 64-year-old cat that doesn't exactly look 64, act 64, or move 64, but I'm 64.
There you go.
64 Dan, young.
Yeah. Thank you once again. I appreciate it, and we'll see you Saturday, all right?
Gentlemen, thank you very much as well. Have a good evening.
Have a good one, sir.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. All right, gang. That was it. For at least episode 1, I think we probably went over a little bit, but that's okay. Hang tight, get a drink, do whatever. I know I got to take a pit stop as well. Come back at the top of the hour at 9 o'clock. We're going to be back with episode 91 with Rohit Raju. And man, we're just going to keep the fun on rolling.
This party going.
Yes! Keep the party going, baby. And we will see you here, 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
Roughly. All right, man. We'll see you guys shortly, and check back. See you then. Thanks again for tuning in to tonight's episode of the Falls Count Everywhere podcast. Don't forget our friends at the following: Outside the Ring STL, the Searcher and Hide podcast, and We Talk Wrestling. The Falls Count Everywhere podcast is an LTX Enterprises production.